The right wing has actually, most of the punditry has fallen in line on the there's no client list actually narrative about Jeffrey Epstein. All right, I guess I'll kind of make my way up there as I talk about the Epstein client list and all that stuff. I have actually a bunch of links for this. I went through the trouble of like cataloging the various ways in which the right-wing pundit class is responding to this, and by responding to it, I mean like trying to gaslight their followers and the right-wing base into being like pro-Epstein, basically. So first things first, let's take a look at this Axios article with some of the latest news from Congress about the Epstein client list, colloquially known as the Epstein files. House GOP, gang of pedophiles, of course, this is what GOP actually stands for, blocks second Democratic attempt to release the Epstein files. The Democrats actually, to their credit, shoutouts to Ro Khanna for this one. The Ro Khanna cycle goes strong, doing the correct thing exactly 50% of the time. The man is like 100% unreadable, like completely unpredictable. I have no idea what he's going to do. Ro Khanna introduced, I believe, an amendment to something that was going on in Congress where it was like, yeah, we need to release the contents and also like get a hold of the contents of the Epstein files. Okay, there's that panel. So that like people can see it, so we can know who's implicated and who's compromised. And the GOP was like, nah. In fact, it didn't even get to the floor, I think. You know, the floor of the House is where they usually vote, where it's like all the representatives, you know, 200 something to 200 something. It didn't even get out of the the dumb fuck committee where like there's like 10 people. No, Axios, I'm not subscribing. Axios, you fucking piece of shit. Wait! One of them worked. One of them worked. Hold up. I actually have access to this article now. Fuck yes. Thank you, archive.org. Alright. Let it be known, Axios did not make its newspaper available to read for free, even if it's the fucking Jeffrey Epstein files. House GOP blocks second Democrat attempt to release Epstein files. House Republicans on Tuesday voted down another Democratic procedural maneuver aimed at forcing the Justice Department to release documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. This is the second time this week Democrats have forced their GOP colleagues to choose between loyalty to Trump and a MAGA base that is furious at his administration over its handling of the Epstein files. This isn't really a choice, as I will explain later, but it is nonetheless a good political move to try to force this. Democrats are already promising future votes. Okay, fuck it. Like, Democrats actually do something for once. Challenge, difficulty. They might actually do it this time. That probably was not the last time you're going to see us deal with this issue, according to House Rules Committee ranking member Jim McGovern. Okay. Republicans dismissed the vote as a cynical partisan ploy, with Representative Tim Burchett telling Axios, it's just politics, it's not about protecting little children, and that ticks me off. Oh, great. Releasing the fucking most incriminating documents possible about a pedophile ring of power brokers to implicate other people who were involved in this, like, ring and also subsequent cover-up is just a political ploy that doesn't protect children. Dog... You are on my brother in Christ, you are on the pedophile list. Like, this is the only fucking conceivable reason that you'd be like, actually, this doesn't help. Yeah, okay, sure. This is, funnily enough, I'll get to this in a minute, but this is not that different. What that Republican representative said is not that different from what Tim Pool said on Twitter. about the subject. Oddly enough. Or I guess not oddly enough, they all get paid by the same people. They're all part of the same fucking pedophile ring, right? So I guess it makes sense that they would all have the same talking points. I think I need to go up here. What happened? The House voted 211 to 210. Oh, wait, it did get to the floor. And they still voted against it. Well, there you go. 211 members of Congress just fucking implicated themselves in the Epstein files by voting against their release. They voted against Representative Ro Khanna's measure to force the DOJ to publish the Epstein files online within 30 days. Democrats' procedural motion would have scuttled the GOP's legislative agenda for the day in favor of the Khanna bill, making it difficult for Republicans to vote for it. Oh, yeah, sure, Axios. Be like, actually, the reason Republicans voted for this is because they had other things to do today. No, you fucking dumbass, you, like, dishonest morons. They voted against it because they're all in the fucking list, and they don't want that shit, like, getting aired out like their dirty laundry or whatever. How does that happen? Dog, the controls in this game are so goddamn inconsistent. It's like I'm driving on soap. The vote fell along party lines, with all Democrats who were present voting for their party's maneuver and all Republicans voting against it. Predictable, as usual. Republicans, the pro-pedophilia party, naturally. Since they are conservatives. Pedocon theory undefeated. It came after Republicans on the House Rules Committee voted Monday night against attaching Epstein language to a broader cryptocurrency and defense funding vote. I get it. So they were like, oh yeah, we need to give this funding to the fucking Defense Department and the intelligence agencies, which, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset. I'm sure everybody probably knows that part. So, we don't want a silly little thing like exposing a goddamn pedophile ring to get in the way of, like, us spending more money on the Pentagon again. That would be no good. How the fuck am I supposed to get up there? Seriously, this is the highest point on the map. I can't go any further up. At this point, I wonder if even revealing it would change anybody's mind. Because, like, everybody knows. Yeah, that is actually a feature of, that's a feature of the MAGA base that they might not even realize. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But again, that's something I'll get to in just a minute. Let me go through the rest of this Axios article. There's not that much left of it. Let's see, something that, one Republican voted for the measure in the Rules Committee. Wait, okay. Representative Ralph Norman from South Carolina voted for the measure in the committee, so before it had gotten to the floor. And then once it was on the floor, he voted against it. Fucking classic. Dude, they're all making excuses. They're all making excuses. Ralph Norman, representative from South Carolina, is trying to cover his ass by saying, like, oh yeah, I believe in transparency, which is why I voted for it in the committee, and then didn't vote for it in the actual, like, voting process. Like, hoping that people overlook that part. And then, like, yeah, he said, this guy, Ralph Norman, votes for it in the committee, then says, oh, I trust Attorney General Pam Bondi to look into it, motherfucker. And then Representative Cloud from Texas offered the explanation, like, oh, Republicans just vote against Democrats on procedural stuff, so this shouldn't be an exception. Dog. We all know why these people are voting against the release of the Epstein files. It's because they're in the fucking files. The other side. These guys have trafficked conspiracy theories for as long as I can remember, and it's coming home to bite them in the ass, and they don't know how to deal with it," said McGovern. This is the Democratic, I think, chair of the Rules Committee or something. "They riled up a base that is demanding more information, and because they're more afraid of Trump than they are their own constituents, they're providing him a circle of protection." Despite his party rejecting the Kana measure, Speaker Mike Johnson said in an interview that we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. Motherfucker, you voted against it. They're all like trying to gaslight their constituents. And the worst part is that it is going to work, ultimately. They are going to be successful in fucking gaslighting their constituents into forgetting about this whole thing. Which is the fucked up part. Johnson said that White House staff are privy to facts that I don't know, but he believes that Bondi needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. Ah, yes, the classic "I trust my friends in the government" fucking line. Small government conservatives, by the way, want you to trust the government as it covers up a goddamn sex trafficking ring. You can't make this shit up, dude. Right-wingers literally tried to make this shit up, and they couldn't. And then here's the version of it that's actually happening. And all the Republicans are like, yeah, we're going to vote against the release of this information, actually. Now let's take a look at what the punditry is saying. That's the politicians who are connected to the punditry. So Tim Pool on Twitter has decided to go with this. I'm just going to go pundit by pundit. Has decided to go with the very weird line that somehow publishing the Epstein files would be like publishing child porn, be like releasing that to the public, which is a wild amount of like playing dumb that I'm surprised that anybody. Well, I'm surprised that people bought into it, and I'm surprised at the same time that people didn't buy into it, because like his base will literally believe anything that he says eventually, like the right-wing base. Bro is acting like the fucking redact function doesn't even exist. You don't actually have to release all the tapes of children being sexually abused. You can just release a description of what happens in the tapes and be like, yeah, we'd rather not publish the actual tape, but here's like the transcript or something. Get like some fucking poor stenographer is gonna suffer for that one, but like it's worth it. So that's Tim Pool, where he's like, actually, we shouldn't publish the Epstein files because there's child porn in there. Therefore, we should let Epstein and rather the sex trafficking ring and power broking ring that he left in his wake, we should just let them to continue abusing children, so that we don't have to go through material that is evidence of them abusing children. Genius argument. Charlie Kirk has gone with a much more straightforward version of the "I trust my friends in the government" line. Here's a clip of him. I'm not going to play the clip, but I'm going to read the quote here. I think I don't want to play like the video and audio and whatever. I have links for this stuff. If this becomes a segment, I will link those in the description. Charlie Kirk says, "I'm done talking about Epstein. I'm going to trust my friends in the government." He just says that. And it's a short, like, 15-second clip of him. You can watch the full clip, but it's, like, the same context is there. I'm not subjecting myself to any more of Charlie Kirk than I have to. Ben Shapiro, took the line of, like, this kind of the same line, the like trust the extremely compromised government officials about this. He said, "I'm sorry," something like, "I'm sorry you're too much of a conspiracy theorist to trust honest people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino about Jeffrey Epstein." Kash Patel, who participated in this fucking outright 180-degree spin from like, we have the Epstein files, we'll release it on day one, to like, there's actually no client list. Shut the fuck up. Go back to sleep or something. Then Lance from the Surfs, shoutouts to the Surfs TV. He got in on the action for looking at these pundits. I thank him greatly for making me have to do that much less drudgery through the goddamn tweets of people like Charlie Kirk and Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson, oddly enough, is trying out the actually they're working on it just in secret and they can't tell us about it. Yeah, you should trust them because they're working on it. They might release it someday. With a exchange between Charlie Kirk and Benny Johnson from a little while ago. I think this would have been from a couple days ago at this point. Johnson says, just got off the phone with a top federal law enforcement contact. The change in approach to Epstein has been dramatic. Expect more disclosures. Some very powerful people inside the admin are now pushing for a special counsel and a full press briefing on the Epstein findings. So basically, he's getting on board with the kind of laundering of the cover-up, basically, where they're part of the cover-up is them saying, oh, we're not actually covering it up because we're still investigating it or some shit. That's what Benny Johnson is doing, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 pundits so far. Then, number 5, we get Russell Brand. Again, shout-outs to Lance from the Surfs because he dug this shit up, and I don't have to dig it up myself. Russell Brand has decided to go the vague posting route. And in so doing, attempt to, like, gaslight people into thinking, wait, is Trump even on the list? Maybe he's not on the list. But what Russell Brand says is in the tweet, it's a 1 minute 40 video clip. I'm not watching a minute 40 of Russell Brand. I care about my brain cells. Generally speaking, I think you're better off with President Trump than anyone who's going to emerge out of the Democrat Party, hands down. People are tired of polished politicians, and we're starting to see why many are blackmailed, compromised, and controlled. Basically trying to redirect the narrative away from Trump, who was, by his own admission, Epstein's best friend, and you know, is fucking, like, is crashing out over the concept of the Epstein client list and telling people desperately to shut up. You know, and of course, Russell Brand also, because Russell Brand is actually a very competent propagandist. He's very good at what he does, I think. It's just that, like, now that they've consolidated and collapsed into the right, that kind of gets lost because they don't have to onboard anybody anymore. But, you know, he puts a little lesser evilism flair on it. Russell Brand's a British nonce who fled to the U.S. And found Jesus to get out of being held accountable for assaulting women. Oh, yes, I know that. This is, as the Surf says, this is pedophile rapist solidarity. He sexually assaulted, in fact, allegedly raped a 16-year-old girl, and grifted to the right, or rather doubled down on his already existing grift to the right to avoid being held accountable for that. So, you know. Unsurprisingly, pedophiles are defending other pedophiles here from the accusations of pedophilia. Then the last of the pundits that I wanted to take a look at. It sometimes makes me think I don't need to pay attention to politics since I feel like I know everything. Right? Doesn't it give you that feeling where it's like, what else is there even to analyze? The right wing is evil, full of pedophiles, and they want to kill you. You know, like yeah. Anyways, the last pundit is the one with the most, I think, tonal whiplash out of the bunch. Sorry, there's not much in the way of gameplay here, but this is a little bit of a deep dive. At least it's a deeper dive than I'm used to taking. I mean, I'll leave it to the people who do this shit, like research this shit in depth to do the deep dive. But you know, my ADHD is getting to me too hard to know where to start with that. Alex Jones initially was shocked, like I think everybody else was, that that the administration decided to just straight up say there's no client list. We're not publishing it. Also, it doesn't exist. And also, if it exists, Trump isn't in there. And also, if he's in there, it's like not even that bad or something. Alex Jones started crying. He did a video where he cried and was like, "Guys, Trump is compromised. I don't know what's going on. Like." I thought he was our ally, you know, the betrayal is massive or something like that. And then he later went and tested the waters for what the rest of the right-wing punditry has fell in line on, which is that, like, oh, the administration's just playing 4D chess. They're trying to blackmail the blackmailers. I think that was some of the terminology that he used. In fact, the MAGA chuds were actually pretty mad at him for this. You know, this random guy that I pulled this from, breaking it's official, the Trump administration has tainted MAGA influencer Alex Jones. We will never accept this nonsense from our president. Epstein has left a stain on the U.S. On United States history that we demand be cleaned up. Hashtag Alex Jones, hashtag Trump pedophiles, and hashtag Epstein. So this person being like really mad that the administration has decided to like cover this up, and that Alex Jones is now on board with the cover-up. What's Alex Jones doing these days after he got nuked? Oh, he's still doing InfoWars. He still has InfoWars. He still does that. Because the court system never punishes right-wingers for anything. He's part of the far-right pipeline. He's part of that capital-funded propaganda machine for the Nazis. So he never gets any sort of meaningful punishment. Sure, maybe he went through some financial troubles, but he's back. He's back in it for that bag. He's posting on Twitter. He does his InfoWars show. He records phone videos sometimes. Same as it ever was. But I think Alex Jones actually being more narrative savvy, at least than some of them, actually realized that it might not pay out to be on the I believe the administration side of things, because he's since actually gone back into holy shit, the administration is covering this up, they're all compromised, this is a massive betrayal, right? Huge nightmare development. Trump doubles down on Epstein cover-up after saying he supported a new DOJ investigation earlier today. Why is 47 making the worst moves of his tenure in the last 9 years? This is beyond fucked up. I can't do that, Alex. Dude, that hurts. Oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, see, now he's back at, like, you know, Trump, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, like, Trump has betrayed us, and he's even still couching his rhetoric in saying that, oh, he's making a mistake, and stuff like that. But there's a lot of turmoil right now, you know, within the right-wing media space. Of course, and you combine that with the government itself, the FBI and the Department of Justice. Yeah, like he's so deep into the tinfoil hat kind of audience that he legitimately, it would be worse for his career for him to say, oh, well, Trump's trying to blackmail the blackmailers. And that, like, oh, you know, he actually knows what he's doing. Trust the administration, guys. But the majority of MAGA pundits have fallen in line to the actually there's no Epstein files. Shut up, stop talking about it. Right? Those are just that was just one tweet from each right-wing influencer that indicates that kind of sentiment. There is much more where that came from. I just didn't feel like subjecting myself to right-wing Twitter, i.e. most of it, to, like, get those kinds of receipts. Maybe editing me will be more inclined, but ultimately, I think I'm satisfied to just say, fucking look for yourself. I think there are various of them. I think Charlie Kirk being one where they actually said, like, stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein or something like that. It's very blatant, and I think that's to match the degree of blatant rhetoric coming from the administration itself, from the FBI, from the Department of Justice, where they have said, like, legitimately, they've said, like, there's nothing to see here. Like the FBI actually said that, like, there's no client list, there's no Epstein files, la la la, I can't hear you, or some shit. After Pam Bondi saying, yeah, they're, like, the files are on my desk, guys. You know, we're gonna publish that shit. You know. Oh, these are the... Okay, finally. Cool. Alright, I got it. Nice. So there's clearly a absolutely massive cover-up coming from the Trump administration, coming from the top down on the right wing, and it is not subtle. It's very sloppy. In fact, it's really inartful the way they've tried to do this cover up. That like it is so unconvincing that even a large chunk of their base is not going for it right away. And there is a reason that I say right away. You know, like look, to kind of rub it in. Did anybody actually think that Donald Trump, fucking associate and best friend of Jeffrey Epstein and all the other rich associates of Epstein that Trump has in his administration, weren't compromised by Epstein? The guy who was a power broker and like cultivated connections to powerful people so that they could be compromised and beholden to his interests? Especially like, you know, seeing as what Trump did recently, right? Like, he crashed out on Truth Social. We've all seen the insane Truth Social posts. He got ratioed on his own website for that. If anything, it'd be more of a mystery if he wasn't on the list. Yeah, in fact, that would be like, if Trump wasn't on the list, it'd be like, that's really fucking weird. That Trump has, like, there's literally video of Trump hanging out with Epstein, them being, like, really chummy, and somehow Trump isn't on that list. I don't know, I guess Epstein decided to do our boy a favor, you know? But this is only temporary, right? Like this right-wing infighting, it's not gonna last forever. The Dems need to capitalize on this. It seems like for once, shoutouts to Ro Khanna, because he actually is going like, holy shit, this is my opportunity. Ro Khanna cycle activate. I'm channeling all of my B-based points into this exact moment. So that I have to, you know, I can save being cringe for later, right? But there are a lot of old guard Democrats that are themselves massively compromised. Don't forget, Donald Trump is not the only person that was actually friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary and Bill Clinton are also on that list. The Democrats are still dominated not just by Clinton, but by other Clinton-era Democrats of the same school of thought. The neoliberals, the do-nothing Democrats, and the people who are basically indistinguishable from Republicans. You know, and they have such a strong hold over the party. A lot of them are compromised too. They've been to Little St. James, a good chunk of them. And you can kind of tell by how some of them, such as, I believe, Chuck Schumer, have reacted to this. Generally, the younger a politician is in America, right? Especially on the Democratic side, the less likely it is that they are compromised significantly by Epstein or have been to Little St. James, you know, Epstein's island where he does all that pedophile shit. Like, for example, we know that Ro Khanna isn't compromised. We know that AOC isn't compromised. We know that Maxwell Frost isn't compromised. We know that John Ossoff isn't compromised, all because of the way they've reacted to this, calling vehemently for the release of the Epstein client list, right? If they were implicated, there would be all the reason in the world for them to simply not do so. You know, but they are. But they represent a minority in the Democratic Party. It's very much like them versus the world on this one. You know, and by the world, I mean like rich pedophiles. Right? Does that make sense? There's a lot of pressure for the Democrats to capitalize on this, to take some sort of narrative weaving power and to make something out of this. It's a little bit like a Al Capone taxes moment where it's like, of all the fucking things Republicans did, God, they recently cut off food aid. They recently like incinerated tons of, like, hundreds of tons of food that was supposed to go to malnourished children in the third world. Like, they fucking decided, yeah, we'll just incinerate all of that to like kill millions. You know, they've defunded the goddamn weather service. They've defunded literally anything that's worth a damn in the United States. And this might be the thing that does them in. But the Democrats have to make that happen. You know, the opposition, to the extent that it exists, they have to make that happen. It's not just going to fall out of the sky. I mean, hell, this is it basically falling out of the sky. They just now have to do something with it, you know? Because if they don't, then there ceases to be any threat of a counter-narrative being established to the right-wing narrative. And if that happens, then the right wing is going to be successful in weaving a narrative to just make everybody fall in line again. Remember, Trump's base of support, the Republican Party, is a cult. They are a death cult. They are a doomsday cult that hates queer people, hates you and me, and wants America to die a slow and painful death, right? They, like, are perfectly fine to just let this, like, go through, to lie until the cows come home, so that, like, nobody will be any the wiser. And because it's a cult, people, like, don't act reasonably when they're in a cult, right? There have been a number of cults throughout American history, especially. This is one of America's strong suits is the wealth of historical knowledge on the formation and like structure of cults, like religious cults. And all the evidence we have indicates that, you know, these cults very frequently, they run on doomsday prophesizing, right? A grand narrative that eventually has to come to fruition, right? Same thing as every religion, funnily enough, that like, you know, the doomsday prophecy is going to happen. Everybody will go up to heaven. There will be a great reckoning where righteousness will win and all will be right with the world. The trick is, most religions know that you actually have to set a ambiguous date or not set a date at all for that to happen, because obviously that's not going to happen. If you commit to a certain date or a certain event that needs to happen, like a real grounded physical, you know, feasible event, it's liable that such a time comes or such circumstances arise, and then the grand narrative just isn't followed through on. And when that happens, as it has in many different cases with the Jehovah's Witnesses, with the Seventh-day Adventists, with the Millerites, with whoever the fuck else, when that inevitably happens, you would think that the cult leaders would be disgraced, that, you know, people would realize that they've had the wool pulled over your eyes, but no, they actually doubled down. Religious cults and religious thinking is by definition irrational. You know, the belief in such a supernatural order of the world, in divine justice, in divine right, in divine power, right? So rather than have to question such a massive power structure, they'll merely tweak the narrative to keep the cult going. You know? And that's what's going to happen. Sure, a small percentage of people may very well end up leaving the cult of MAGA over this, right? Like, it may be too much for some people, but it's very likely, if history tells us anything about cults like this, they are all going to fall in line eventually. Maybe not 100% of them, but I will bet you my bottom dollar, more than 90% of the MAGA base will eventually fall in line. All the people that are justifiably very mad at Alex Jones, at Charlie Kirk, at Ben Shapiro, at Donald Trump right now, eventually they're just going to go right back to being good little piggies for the right wing. And they're going to fall in line with the Epstein. What Epstein? That guy didn't even exist, you know? What Epstein files? You guys are talking nonsense, right? There's only going to be a very small portion of them that actually leaves the cult structure over this. And the reason for that is that you have to hammer in basically a massive cycle of humiliation. You have to humiliate this cult affiliation out of people in order for them to consistently, like, leave the cult, right? There has to be that such an overwhelming and compelling narrative that it is untenable socially and politically to believe in these things, right? You literally have to bully them into submission. I did it. So that's what's what on the state of, like, the Epstein files right now. It is really important that this should be released, because, like, it speaks to the class divide between the, like, ruling class and the fucking class of people that is ruled over, right? You know, the sort of social connections within government and within other powerful institutions, and shit like that. And if you force them to air out their dirty laundry, I'm not one to engage in the whole, like, there will be a day of reckoning kind of narrative, right? But it does make political life a lot harder for extremely powerful people if they have to air out all their dirty laundry, including things like sex crimes against minors, you know, in public, basically. And they have to do it sooner rather than later because the right wing will fall in line. They will fall in line. It's not a question of if. Future me, cut the segment. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.